Tonight, we move to a subject we don't often talk about, but that is something we hope to change right now.
What would you do if your kid went missing?
My son ran away. He's been missing since Thursday.
We've had about 700 runaway cases at the Unified Police Department.
700.
Right.
About the age of 13, just cruising around doing whatever the hell I wanted. No rules, no regulations.
Of course, I felt in danger being a young girl around all these grown men.
I won't stop till I find her.
It was just a stupid choice.
You know, how could I protect my daughter? You know, she was in harm's way and I wasn't there to protect her.
There's real evil in the world and these kids are in danger of it, so we want to get them back as quick as we can to their families.
Every year, hundreds, if not thousands, of Utah families struggle with kids who run away from home.
The majority of these kids are teenagers who are having problems at home or at school.
And what these kids don't realize is the streets can be a dangerous place. Tonight, we want to highlight the issues and help parents stop the problem before it even starts. First, a story of two families and the emotional toll it can take when your child goes missing.
Johnny and Toddy, they're in 9th grade. They've been missing now for 6 days. Have you seen these guys at all? They've been missing since Thursday.
Melissa Brink says she's not leaving Granger High School in West Valley.
I'm staying right here. Somebody in this school knows something.
Until her son Johnny is found.
If you see him, will you call the police, okay? Or let administration know.
Johnny and his girlfriend Tatiana left for school one morning and never came home.
She took her school binder with her and it was an "I love you, I'll see you after school."
Both moms say their kids ran away, but neither thinks it was planned.
They took absolutely nothing with them, and
if this was planned, they would have at least taken clothes, their cell phone chargers, something.
Johnny and Tatiana are both 14. Their moms say they were in trouble for sloughing and they were possibly being bullied at school.
Have you guys seen them around anywhere at all?
Two kids trying to put their problems in the past, but what they're really leaving behind.
My daughter did nothing but cry yesterday for her sister.
Are two very worried families.
I haven't slept in 4 days. I haven't eaten in 3 days.
Begging for their children to come home.
I won't stop till I find her.
Son, I will never stop looking for you, ever. Until the day I die. I will never stop looking for you. Oh.
What an incredibly hard thing for a family to have to go through. The good news, Johnny and Tatiana were both finally found, largely thanks to a volunteer group here in Utah. We'll talk more about that group later in the show. And we'll hear from the teens about why they'll never run away again. Mike?
All right, Deanie, first, though, we want to talk about just how big the issue of runaways really is. It is difficult to say exactly how many kids run away from home, but national statistics put the number just around 1.5 million runaways in the United States each and every year. So the question now is, what about here in Utah? Well, we surveyed a dozen of the largest police agencies in the state, and here's a sampling of what we found. In St. George, nearly 90 runaways were reported this year alone. In Orem, Tooele, and Ogden, you can see it right up there. They got a number closer to about 115 in each of these cities. In West Valley and Salt Lake, it's even higher than that. 300 cases of runaways so far this year in 2013. And Unified Police Department, which covers just about a dozen communities, reports nearly 700 runaway cases this year alone.
Those numbers hit close to home for an Ogden family after a teenage girl decided that life on the street was a better place to be than home or in a detention center. We talked to her about the dangers she faced when she decided to run away.
I'm not saying it'll be ugly, it'll be cute.
Sonia and Mariah Rivas have a close bond.
My sister would go crazy without me, and I would go crazy without my sister.
A bond that was broken.
And I didn't want to stay.
When Sonia was 14 years old.
She was missing for 2 months. Of course I was scared. I was just a kid.
Sonia says she had a big fight with her dad, so she ran away from home with an older man.
We stayed in cars, we stayed in hotels if he couldn't afford it. If his friends had a place to stay, then we'd go there. We were around different people who were in gangs and doing drugs and just running the streets, so of course I felt in danger being a young girl around all these grown men.
Sonia says she would steal and had her first experience with drugs.
And she started getting high and she had asked me, and she's like, "You want some?" And I was like, I just stood there and I stood there and I stared at her for a while and I took it.
Sonia says she was never involved in prostitution, but Mariah says she knew other runaways who were.
For drugs and stuff.
For 2 months, the only thing Sonia cared about was not getting caught. But eventually,
I just felt myself like going down. I just felt like I couldn't be there anymore.
she called her dad. He and Mariah drove to Brigham City at 3 a.m. No questions asked.
What did I say to her? I didn't say anything to her. All I could do was hold her.
3 years later, Sonia has this advice for other teens thinking about running away.
I just kind of regretted it and think about all your options fully. If I would have done that then I would never have run away.
A lesson learned the hard way. Kids who run away face very real risks. Sometimes they turn to illegal and dangerous activities just to survive. A study from the National Runaways Safeline found most kids did not plan to run away and only had $10 or less when they left home. These circumstances force most runaways to find a source of money. According to the study, nearly 1/3 of teens in shelters have dealt drugs, and the numbers for those on the street are even higher. As many as 28% of homeless runaways have engaged in survival sex, which means they trade sex for money, food, shelter, or drugs. And teens who engage in survival sex are 2 to 3 times as likely to have been robbed, assaulted, or physically abused after running away.
Yeah, frightening statistics there. Thank you, Deanie. Now, there are a lot of reasons kids run away from home, and a bad home life is one of them. 10 years ago, a kid by the name of Ian left his mother and never looked back. He was just 13 years old. And even though Ian is now an adult, he is still living the life of a teenage runaway.
The video is shaky, the sound is blaring, and once you realize the guy behind the camera—
that's me with dreads, by the way—
is actually sitting on top of a freight train, it becomes clear his life—
and that's the Great Salt Lake—
is extremely—
I hope I don't get any charges for this—
different. His name is Ian.
My lifestyle is probably one of the best. In fact, I feel bad for the people who live in houses. Me and my girl go crazy when we're housed up.
And 10 years ago, he made a life-changing decision to run away from home in a boxcar.
About the age of 13, just cruising around doing whatever the hell I wanted, no rules, no regulations. Home life was never really pleasant. There was a single mom there, and she was off doing her thing, trying to make ends meet, and I was on my own.
13 years old and on his own. Wherever the tracks led him, he would go. Along the way, stealing cars, doing drugs.
Still a little bit of drinking. I love my weed,
while begging for food, money, and clothes.
Most of the time, the best thing to do is just flow with it. People walk up to you and hand you money. They see you just traveling and having a good time, and they're wondering, that person looks homeless, but they're having a great time. What's up with that?
In the mind of Ian, he is living the runaway dream. Jobless, moneyless, homeless.
By choice, home free, not homeless.
And learn quickly how to get exactly what he wants.
Right now we're heading to downtown Salt Lake.
Most runaways do not have the mentality of Ian, so the Volunteers of America has an outreach program for kids on the street.
Some of the clients are runaways, some are aged out of foster care,
who often believe they have nowhere to go. The VOA says 7 out of every 10 of these kids have experienced either physical or sexual abuse at home, and sometimes both. They flee to the street because they believe it is safer than home. Typically, it is not.
About 70% have experienced trauma prior to being on the street. The same percentage experienced trauma while being on the street. It's a dangerous place.
Grab this, I guess.
So the VOA seeks out the runaways to get them off the street, providing them with the basics to survive so they do not have to do the unthinkable to get them.
It's not free even though someone says, hey, I'll give you a free place to stay. It's usually not free.
Ian, though, made no mention of those dangers. He's got a girlfriend now.
You got a lady with you. Freight trains get a little bit more interesting.
And she has quickly taken to the boxcar life of a runaway.
Woke up in Reno, passed out again, woke up here.
And it's likely the next time she passes out, they will not be here. Salt Lake was simply a rest stop where they got a few handouts and some money from a stranger. Ian's life is not glamorous, it is not safe, but it is the life of a runaway.
All right, now Ian is a rare case here and made it very clear most people cannot hack that style of life. By choice, Ian does not have a job, so he begs for money, he begs for food, he sleeps in parks, and he travels on trains.
He called it that home-free life, but the lifestyle really isn't carefree, and I think that's how most teens envision it, is it's that home free.
No, I agree. And, you know, kids want to, if they want to run away from home, they're thinking maybe glamorous, hey, I'm getting to do whatever I want to do. Well, he kind of lives that life. And you see, I mean, did that look glamorous to you? Does that look like something you want? I don't know. That's up for debate.
Those are the things
not.
they should think about, though, and take full assessment before they make poor choices.
Certainly, certainly.
All right. Dave?
2 high-profile runaway cases made headlines this year. In August, 16-year-old Indica Huddleston left a note for her family saying she was running away from her home in Alpine. Her parents were worried she might have been lured away by an older man she'd met on Facebook. As police searched for the teen, her family took to the internet in a search of their own. Thousands of people on Facebook shared Indica's picture, even as far away as Australia. Indica was finally found safe a week later. Her case is still under investigation. In January, Brooklyn Gittens disappeared from her home in Harriman sometime during the night. More than 1,000 volunteers came out in force to search for the missing 13-year-old. Several days later, Brooklyn telephoned her grandmother from a Walmart store in South Jordan, and police picked her up. A 55-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of child kidnapping and harboring a runaway in connection with her disappearance. Mike?
All right, not all runaway cases draw attention, and lack of police resources coupled with hundreds of runaways can leave families to do their very own investigating. Debbie Dejanovic dug into police protocol to see if there is a way for these cases to reach the eyes and the ears of the public more often than what it is right now.
Well, you know, Mike, please tell me, one of the first thing a panicked parent will cry for is an Amber Alert. Well, what parents don't realize is strict protocol for such alerts prevents police from issuing them in many cases. But I discovered an alternative that police could use a lot more often to find runaway children.
When a child is abducted, an Amber Alert goes out, and reporters, highway billboards, and text messages notify the public to be on the lookout.
We do get that question posed to us all the time. Why won't you issue an Amber Alert? And I think it's important that people understand that there are criteria that are set forth for an Amber Alert.
The Amber Alert is specifically only for a child who's been abducted, and if they don't have any information that the child has been abducted, they can't issue an Amber Alert.
Working in law enforcement, Paul Murphy and Justin Hoyle have both responded to reports of missing children. And having worked at the FBI myself, I understand that misusing an Amber Alert will numb the public.
When police respond on a missing child, is it more likely that the child has been abducted or is a runaway?
Statistically speaking, it's most likely it's going to be a runaway. In our department so far year to date, from January to present, we've had about 700 runaway cases at the Unified Police Department.
700.
Right.
Children who are missing are in danger. They're more at risk of abuse, more at risk of suicide, more at risk of being hurt by other people. And so I think good law enforcement officers treat every missing child case as a very serious case.
Missing and at risk meets the criteria for an endangered missing advisory. This alert has much looser rules than an Amber Alert, gets issued to the media and the public, and has assisted in locating almost 20 people in Utah. Yet Murphy says law enforcement doesn't use it enough.
Could it be used more?
I think it could be used more, and I think part of that is training, and part of it is just that we haven't had a case like Elizabeth Smart. Elizabeth Smart suddenly told the world there's something called an Amber Alert. We haven't had a case here in Utah that really told everybody we have something called the Endangered Missing Advisory, and when an advisory goes out, take it seriously because you may bring a person back home alive.
And of course, by issuing this kind of alert, it's more likely to catch the attention of the media, which then could obviously draw more media coverage. You know, historically, Mike, I mean, you and I both know from covering news in this market for a long time, we don't cover runaways typically.
No, we don't. There's a lot of news stories out there, but these are big ones, Sarah. And of course, we don't have the resources to cover, for example, the 700 plus runaways Unified Police are responding to each and every year. But as we've delved into this issue throughout the night and really the last several weeks here, as journalists, maybe we should begin to take a closer look here at how we do address this issue.
I believe when you look at the impact this is having on our children, our families, our neighborhoods, and our police departments, that as media, we need to step in, analyze on a case-by-case basis, and perhaps, when the case is appropriate, cover it.
No, I think we can definitely do that and hopefully save a lot of these kids. So, Debbie, great report. Thank you.
These guys might be the last people you'd expect to drop everything and look for a missing child, but that's exactly what they do. They're part of a group called Bikers Urban Response Needed, or BURN. When a teen runs away, these guys are often first on the scene to look for them. Jason Clark heads up the team. He says just because a kid is a runaway doesn't mean they're not at risk.
Sometimes people say, oh, this kid ran away from home because home was bad. There's people in this group to help with that situation, but there's not a positive outcome from a child being out in this world by themselves.
So far, Byrne has about 20 members, and they say they're looking for more volunteers. The lack of police resources means many families are relying more and more on volunteer groups like Byrne to help them find their missing kids.
Those bikers often work closely with another group who searches for runaways free of charge. News specialist Andrew Wittenberg in the newsroom with more.
Well, guys, say your child runs away. You go through the usual steps of filing a police report, posting on social media, asking friends and family for help. We get those kind of calls into our newsroom every single day, and then still yet parents don't have any luck finding their child. But thankfully there are places where you can go for help.
We used to live there, and he's got a few friends there.
Spencer Levitt and Alan Robbins never imagined meeting like this. But on this morning, at this moment, the fate of Levitt's son,
Jonathan, is a 13-year-old boy. He's about 5'10", 135 pounds.
Could very well depend on the kindness of strangers.
What would you do if your kid went missing?
With that constantly in the back of his mind, Robbins donates his time, his expertise. He's a private investigator working with the Center for Search and Investigations at no charge. Spencer Levitt found CFSI on Facebook here in Utah. Sadly, it's not Jonathan's first time to run away. He took off on his way to school one morning, but
Never this long. The longest he's been gone was like 34 hours the last time.
Levitt had been through the usual channels, filing a report with Taylorsville police.
They said they were going to do everything they could to get the ball rolling.
But he needed more help, someone who could devote more time to finding his son, and that's where Robbins often comes in.
We've heard of stories of trick for treats where they get people addicted to drugs and make them turn tricks in order to get more drugs.
In his short time investigating missing child reports with CFSI, Robbins has a pretty good success rate.
100% so far of these kids have come back safely to their families.
But statistics don't keep him going. It's parents torn to pieces, like Spencer Levitt.
In a panic, I can't sleep.
Jonathan eventually came home on his own after hearing investigators were looking for him.
When I asked him, are you okay? Did anybody hurt you? Any of that stuff, he's just shaking his head and he won't say anything.
There is a long way to go for the Levitt family, but for now, Jonathan is home. And people like Alan Robbins keep moving on to the next case.
There's real evil in the world, and these kids are in danger of it, so we want to get them back as quick as we can to their families.
If you'd like to reach out to CFSI Utah, you can check out their Facebook page. That's the best way to get in contact with them. They have 6 private investigators who help find missing kids at no charge. We'll post that information on our website under this story at KSL.com. Guys, back to you.
Great information, Andrew. Thank you.
It just breaks my heart to think that we've just never got any closure and that something terrible happened to my child, somebody that I loved.
Runaways have been the focus of our story so far this evening, but in some cases a runaway turns out not to be a runaway. It's something the Utah family says they knew from day one. Their daughter now missing since 1995. Central Utah specialist Sam Penrod has followed the Kipland Davis case for years now, and Sam, this family still does not have answers, do they?
Yes, Mike, and Richard and Tamara Davis will tell you they really knew the night that Kipland did not come home that something was seriously wrong. But it took nearly 3 weeks to convince the police to search for their 15-year-old daughter. Lost opportunities, they believe, may have solved the case.
It's a place where we can sit and think about Kipland.
A headstone in the Spanish Fork Cemetery lists the day Kipland Davis was born, but there is no death date and the grave is empty. For more than 18 years, Kipland's family has wondered what happened to her. Kipland disappeared from Spanish Fork High School on May 2nd, 1995.
Purse or retainer or makeup, all the things that a girl would take with her if she was going to go somewhere, they were still in her locker.
While police suggested 15-year-old Kipland had run away, her parents believed otherwise.
It wasn't like Kipland. It wasn't her nature. It wasn't like her. I knew she hadn't run away. I knew that there was something tragic had happened to her.
An FBI agent they knew volunteered to help, but police turned him down.
Then they said, we don't need you at this time. She's just a runaway.
Kiplin's family made their own missing posters and looked for days on end without sleep.
Every time the phone would ring, we would hope it was some information about Kiplin. We hope it was Kiplin calling.
And I was trying to find her. I was doing everything I possibly could.
Most unlike her to just disappear and not make contact.
It was weeks before police suspected foul play.
She isn't a runaway, that she truly is missing.
But the case went cold, leaving her family heartbroken.
The feeling in my heart, it was just like somebody had a hold of my heart and was squeezing it. You know, how could I protect my daughter? You know, she was in harm's way, and I wasn't there to protect her.
For years, 3 of Kiplin's classmates were suspected of being involved. In 2005, a decade after Kiplin vanished, they were indicted by a federal grand jury for lying during the investigation. 2 of the 3 remain behind bars. To this day, all have remained silent about Kiplin's disappearance.
Well, she disappeared, part of me was missing.
Carissa Davis was only 9 years old when her sister disappeared and still struggles with not knowing.
I'm not giving up hope. Never giving up hope. I know that she's still out there, but we still want her home. That's all we've always wanted.
The Davises say they learned it's critical to push the police to get involved.
Be demanding.
Right away.
You know, I don't care if they're a runaway or not. They're still in harm's way. They're your daughter, they're your son. Demand it.
Richard and Tamara still hope someone, someday, will finally tell them where to find Kiplin's remains.
You know, there's a lot of miracles out there. We're just hoping that there's one more for us. But we're never going to give up. Never. Never. We need to bring Kiplin home, put her in her proper place, and then we'll turn the porch light off.
And that porch light at the Davis home has been a symbol of hope for the family. It has remained on for 6,669 nights. That's the number of nights Kiplin has been missing.
Your heart certainly goes out to the Davis family. Sam, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Deanie?
It's a touching story. Cases like Kiplin's do happen, though they are rare. But that doesn't mean kids who actually run away don't face other real risks. So how do you know if your son or daughter is thinking about running away? Most of the time, they won't come out and just tell you, but sometimes actions speak louder than words. Watch for changes in behaviors or patterns, like if your child stops eating or they start overeating. They sleep all day or they sleep not at all. Changes in moods, abnormal mood swings. Also pay attention to rebellious behavior or an unusual accumulation of money or possessions. And if your child actually says they are going to run away, whether it's to you or to a friend, it's important to take it seriously and to talk to them immediately. Dave?
Well, talking to your kids is the most important thing you can do. It's not always easy. Doug Bunker is a family therapist with Salt Lake County Youth Services with us tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You deal with a lot of runaway kids. Let's say I'm a runaway 15-year-old and now I'm sitting in your office. What are you asking to find out about me? What do you want to know about me?
Well, I want to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what prompted your decision to run away.
And what am I telling you in your research with all the kids you deal with? Why are they running away?
Well, you know, when it comes down to it, the fact is that most kids don't want to run away.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't think they have any other choice. They're full of mixed emotions. They're confused. They're angry. They're upset.
For parents, often they're horrified, they're embarrassed, and they have no idea what to do. What do you tell parents?
That's right. Well, usually I see parents when the kid has been recovered or comes home.
Yeah.
And we talk about how to build and strengthen the relationship. A lot of times parents are so tied into being the people that say no, being the negative folks, that they forget the positive side of parenting. And so we talk about ways to be more positive.
Is that the best way to offset a kid thinking that his best chance is to bolt, by reinforcing the positive side of family life?
It certainly is an important part of it. Kids need to feel like they belong in that family.
It's interesting, there are 2,000 kids have run away in Utah this year. This is Utah. This is the family state. How is that even possible?
It is. You know, it's hard to explain. And every family has its own unique set of challenges. So sometimes it has nothing to do with what the parent's doing. Sometimes it has to do with mental health problems or other problems or involvement that the kid has.
If I'm a parent and I'm listening to you right now, what do I do to get more information? Where can I go?
Well, you can contact us at Salt Lake County Division of Youth Services. Our number is area code 385-468-4500.
And each county has a service,
That's right. Each county has youth services.
So there's a place to get help, get more information. Bring the issues to you and get some insight, right?
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate the work you do, Doug. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Mike, Deanie?
All right, Dave, Doug, thank you very much. Earlier tonight, we showed you the story of two moms looking for their teenagers who ran away together.
As we promised, this story does have a happy ending, but it wasn't easy getting there for either side. Missing one day.
My son ran away. He's been missing since Thursday.
Found the next.
Where are you going to be tomorrow?
Home or in school?
Okay. Something no parent ever wants to experience. Johnny and Tatiana say they decided to take off from school.
One girl flat out told me that they were going to hurt me to the point where I couldn't survive it because I'm different and because of who I decided to hang out with.
And just keep running.
Because it's just a stupid choice.
Two kids who went from West Valley all the way to Garland.
I just keep seeing missing Jonathan Lucky, Tatiana Walker. They just kept going over and over. All my friends, all my family sharing it.
Both teens now say it was a bad idea.
I was always paranoid. Looking over, I was always thought I was going to look over my shoulder and there would be a cop right there going to take me in, or someone right there going to do whatever.
Fear's too big for a 14-year-old.
Just hoping that no one would touch me, no one would try to do anything, that I wouldn't get hurt, and that my family was okay, that they were doing okay with me not being there and stuff. And just thinking, it was like, maybe I should go back. Maybe they need my help with something. Maybe they're going to get hurt while I'm gone.
And hurting their families themselves without even realizing it.
Please, I will get on my hands and knees right now and beg you to ever do this to me again.
Don't do it, that it's not worth it.
Because I should have talked to somebody that I could trust instead of taking off and trying to just get away from it all.
It feels good being back home. Wish I never left.
It feels good.
Good to be home for both sides. Johnny and Tatiana, as we heard, were tracked down in Garland. The person that found them was a private investigator who volunteers for CFSI, that group Andrew told us about earlier in the show.
All right, there have been hundreds of kids who have run away from home right here in Utah this last year. We want to show you two of those runaways who are still missing right now.
If you go to our Facebook page, we posted pictures and descriptions of teens who have run away from home. And take a look at Shayla Jemmett, 15 years old, 4'11", weighs 115 pounds. Shayla has a nose piercing and a lip piercing, as well as a butterfly tattoo on her left shoulder. She was last seen on September 6th.
Sienna Gonzalez is also 15 years old. She's about 5'2", and she changes her hair color a lot. Sienna has been missing for about 2 months. If you see either of these girls, please call police.
And there are many other online resources that'll post a picture of a missing child on their website.
Websites like CFSI's Facebook page or the Department of Public Safety's Missing Persons Clearinghouse. There's also the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
We also have links to all these websites on KSL.com. It's a big issue. We hope our special broadcast tonight was beneficial as we all work to help Utah's kids, especially those at risk. Thank you for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.